This is a bit of a weird situation. Slouser here, and today, well, I'm filming a deck profile that may be useless in about 2 weeks. Where to begin? As you can see, this is in Master Rank 3, and I managed to do it with a 60 card deck Rescue-ACE. Now, you may be thinking, why is this going to be useless in about 2 weeks? Well, I plan to film this video today, and you know what also got announced today? Beatrice is banned, which, look, don't get me wrong, is great. It's amazing. This card is busted, and it should have been worse. I mean, Snake Eyes will probably still be the best deck, but unfortunately, that kind of hurts this deck a lot, and I don't know if it's going to be usable in 2 weeks' time, because yes, we do play the Fiendsmith package. It could still work, it just might not be as consistent. Again, I don't know if it will be worth it once Beatrice goes, but hey, by the time this video comes out, you still have you have over a week to still try this deck out, because it is fun and it is powerful. So if you want to give it that week try, go ahead. For all you new viewers, 2 things I want to mention. One, how I do my deck profiles is, first, I like to go through every card I'm using and explain why I'm using them. Then we move on to pros and cons, and then lastly we end with a combo. And this is where it's a bit weird, because the pros and cons will change definitely once Beatrice goes, and especially the combo, since the combo I was going to show you was the Fiendsmith package going into the Rescue-ACE package, but with Beatrice gone, it's pretty much, well, yeah, it's a useless combo. But nevertheless, I'm going to say what the pros and cons and show you the combo of what I used this month. So at least if Beatrice one day comes back and for some reason these cards aren't hit, like the Fiendsmith cards and so on, you can then come back to this video and then use it. However, I'll be honest, I was using this deck for fun. I was only using it because I was waiting for Impulse, which Impulse comes out the day this video comes out, so I will be going back to Rescue-ACE Azamina. But as I said in the beginning, this deck is fun and it can fight through so much interruption. Just check out the montage what comes out next week. Insane. And secondly, for you new viewers, since you are new, you're most likely not subscribed, so subscribe to the channel to be up to date with all my Yugioh Master Duel content, like deck profiles and montages, or to be updated when I live stream. Now, with that all being said, let's get on with the 60 card deck Rescue-ACE deck profile. So the first card, which you can't see right now, is Luri. Of course, this is a part of the Fiendsmith package. You need to play one. Since you search it, discard it, special summon it. 2 Rescue-ACE Hydrant. It's never changed. I think 2 is a perfect number in case it gets banished, or you know, banished face down, or something happens to it, or if you have it in your hand but you'd rather special summon it because of like 1-for-1, and 3 might be a bit too much. If the Snake Eyes cards get hit, then we probably would have to go to 3 for consistency, but as of now 2 is perfect. 1 Snake Eyes Ash. This card is amazing for this deck because with the Fiendsmith package, this card alone, if no interruptions, gives you the whole Rescue-ACE package. That is a combo I will show once it gets to the combo part of the video. Of course, the Poplar is in all Rescue-ACE deck profiles. It's another 1 card starter if searched with Bonfire. Of course, 2 Maxi, self-explanatory. 1 Ghost Ogre. This isn't a staple, so if you do decide to play this deck, you don't have to play this card. There's 3 cards in this deck which you can keep switching out between, and I will let you know once I get to them. So you can switch this out, but because of True Light for Blue Eyes and a few other cards that are continuous spells and traps, it's powerful. So I decided to put back in. 3 Ash, again, another must play, especially with Fuelas and Maxi about. And it can stop if your opponent only has 1 card to start the engine and you Ash it, you can win. 3 Impulse. Now this is another card that you could switch out. I used to play 2, added in 3 because I just wanted more consistency, and I love this card. Not only does it help the deck so much, if you bring out Fire Engine, then that can bring out Airlifter. I just love the artwork. I mean, I'm trying to get 3 royal finishes. Currently have 2, need 1 more. I think I will keep 3 from now on though, because this deck is so powerful when the engine is out. It can break so many boards. So I actually probably stick with 3. 2 Airlifter. If Snake Eyes gets hit, which most likely they will next month, please bring this back to 3, because this deck is gonna struggle bad. Like, I don't mind hitting the Snake Eyes stuff as long as Rescue-ACE gets some consistency cards back, and this needs to go to 3. 3 Fuelas, amazing going second, unless you're playing stun, and even if you go first, you can discard it with Diablo Star or Deception. So yeah, it can always be discard fodder. Play 3 because you want to draw into as many engine cards as possible, because as I said, you can break boards easily. You just have to have loads of extenders, and this is a card that can get you multiple extenders. One Santa Claus, you can search it with Tract. Got the idea from Diamond, and it actually helps. If your opponent's playing Exodia, you have Tract and they don't negate it, you can search Santa Claus and then, yeah, tribute their Exodia and they can't use their trap card. Of course, the 2 Engravers, 1 Fire Engine, the target for Impulse most of the time. Yeah, it's a real good card. If you use this on Fiendsmith and they go into their Link 1, they activate Link 1, you use Impulse and they have nothing to stop your Impulse, you basically get 2 monsters on the field. Yeah, after that they can go into Graver and then use his effect to send 1. But I usually like to search with Airlifter a Rescue, because in case they do that, you can special summon one of them back. Or if they did leave them both, you can go into a Link and then you can special summon the Airlifter back to get your emergency or whatever you need. 3 Diablo Star, 1 card starter for this deck. Probably will go down to 1 if they don't hit the other cards. But yeah, it's a consistency card. You need to play at 3. 2 Preventer. Love this card so much. So powerful. I always talk about how amazing it is, and every deck would love a card like this. So I'm glad it's for Rescue-ACE. Every effect is amazing. It truly is just an amazing card. And 1 Turbulence. I said in my first deck profile, the pure Rescue-ACE in January. I said in the Rescue-ACE Azamina, and I'm saying it now. All you need is 1. There's not really that many outs for Turbulence. Even cards like Shift or anything that banishes, you can easily bring it back with Preventer. So really, the only cards that can get rid of it are cards like Kashtira. Now we're onto the spells. And this one I'm going to go into a bundle because it all works together. So I'm playing 3 Triple Tactics Thrust. The reason why I went with Thrust instead of just like a bunch of hand traps is because I've been facing a lot of stun. I've actually been facing more stun this season than Snake Eyes. And trust me when I say this, I would prefer to play Snake Eyes over stun. Yes, watching the 5, 10, 15 minute combos of Snake Eyes does get boring, but at least I can put my phone down or the iPad down and just do something or watch a video while I wait. Stun is so boring because it's literally, it's either you just give a free win, you give up straight away, or you play and give yourself false hope just to lose on like turn 10. No interactions, boring as shit. So yeah, I'm playing Triple Tactic Thrust because I want a card to search out Harpy's Feather Duster for stun. But you know what? There are other decks that play back row as well, like Blue Eyes and Bait Out and the Gate of Desiree. A lot of decks do now play a lot of back row. So yeah, the Harpies is good. And the other cards I play with the Thrust, 1 Raigeki, Board Wipe, Dark Rule No More. I don't care about OTKing. I don't mind destroying your board and then setting up with Turbulence. So then when it comes back to your turn, good luck trying to break my field when you may only have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 cards remaining, but then I have a full board of interruptions as well. 1 Talents. If I'm going first and they have, for example, like a Bestial and they get rid of like a Fiendsmith card, I can look at their hand. Or if I'm going second, it can bait and negate, or I can take a Appaloosa or something. So those 4 cards are usually the targets for Thrust. However, Thrust can also be a consistency card because it can search out cards like 1-for-1, help get one of your level 1 monsters onto the field. Can search out Bonfire. Usually when I want a consistency card, I go for Bonfire because that just brings out the best possible board you can get. And it can search your Rotor. So if I did want to go into the pure Rescue-ACE, I can just search this and then go into Airlifter and boom. Now let's continue. 1 Original Sinful Spoils, Snake Eyes package, but gets you into your Rescue-ACE package. 2 Tract, in case you start with 1 Tract and you have Engraver, at least you have something to search. Or Bait and Ash. 1 Hollowed Azamina for the Azamina package to get into your fusions. 1 Rescue HQ. This is a grindy card and it gives you the extra normal summon. So if I already have Emergency and Airlift in hand, I usually search this. Because yeah, if you end up using multiple Rescue-ACE cards, you can then put some back, draw another. 3 Deception, again to go into your Azamina fusions. This also gets into your Rescue-ACE package. I mean, look, Fiendsmith and Azamina both can get into your Rescue-ACE package. I would never play any of these engines if they couldn't get into them. That's why when I say, is this deck going to be worth it after Beatrice gets banned? I guess it just depends if you don't mind not going from Fiendsmith into Rescue-ACE. If you don't mind ending with a Desiree, and if you did start with Rescue-ACE, then you're perfect. But if not, and you might just end with Fiendsmith cards, then that's down to you. But me personally, I would only play them if they can guarantee get me into somehow the Rescue-ACE cards. 2 cooled buys, stop those hand traps like Maxi and stuff, and 1 cross out. Now in the pure build or Rescue-ACE Azamina build, I don't play this, but because with the Fiendsmith cards, this makes this deck more vulnerable to hand traps like Maxi and Fuelas because there's a lot more special summoning. So I decided to add this in. This is the 3rd card which I mentioned with Ogre and the 3rd Impulse. I added cross out because yeah, just too many hand traps, and I noticed every time I was using the Fiendsmith cards, it would hurt. Now the usual 1 rescue, 1 alert, and 3 emergencies. Staple cards. Have an emergency and airlifter in hand, or emergency and hydrant in hand is just, it's like one of the best starters, because if they do have a Veiler or an Imperm, you can dodge it, get a search and a special summon. Last spell, wanted, search for Diablo Star or search with your fusion, and then you get a draw 1 if you have a Sinful Spoils trap or spell in your graveyard. Now for the traps, the last 3 cards. 1-dimensional barrier. This is a target for thrust. If you're going first and you have thrust in your hand and you get ashed or something, you can use your thrust, get barrier, and if they are playing like Tempai Dragons or a deck that specifically uses synchros or fusions, you can stop them for a turn. And of course, the 1 contain and 1 extinguish. So that is it for the main deck. Let's get on with the extra deck. We'll start with the Fiendsmith package. 1 Lacrima to get into Beatrice or just get another monster onto the field. 1 Desiree, your Omni Negate, very powerful card. Requiem, pretty much the starter for your Fiendsmith package. 1 Sequence to fuse your Fiendsmith cards to get your fusions. 1 Moon to start it off again in case you don't have any Fiendsmith cards but you have 2 monsters on field and you can get more into the field. You can get into your Fiendsmith. And 1 Beatrice. I'm saying this is a Fiendsmith card because yeah, it really is. This was the card to help you get from Fiendsmith to Rescue-ACE, because obviously you go Beatrice, dump Hydrant, then you go Beatrice and sequence into Promethean. It's the same like the Snake Eyes, but instead it's for Rescue-ACE. And for the Azamina cards, 1 Sylvia, another Omni Gate, and 1 Largo. I'm just going to say Largo. I always forget how to say the name. Usually go into this first to either search another Sinful Spoils card or to bait a hand trap. Now for the remaining extra deck cards, 1 Anima. It was this or Link Karibo, but I feel like Anima had more use. 1 Fire Charmer since you're a fire deck and everyone plays Ash, so there's usually, you have a lot more chance of basically getting this off. 1 SP Leonite, the best Link in the game because it's so generic. Banish can be 2 interruptions, amazing card. And it helps you dodge if you have this and like a Turbulence. 1 Promethean Princess, it just is a staple for fire decks. And for the OTK package, 1 Zealantis and 1 Raging Phoenix. I just love this OTK, it's so powerful. And lastly, 1 Underworld. I didn't used to play this, but then I lost to I think it was Dynamorphia where I nearly lost to them, and I was like, I needed Underworld. So yeah, I added Underworld and I love its Royal. So of course I'm gonna play her. There you go. That is the main deck and extra deck. Let's get on with the pros and cons, and I'm gonna go through this quick because some of these pros will be useless once Beatrice is gone. So do you know what? I'm gonna start with the cons. I guess this is a pro in one way, but it's also a con. One of the cons is because you're playing 60 cards, it is a lot harder to start with specific cards you want, or if you needed a top deck a card, it's unlikely to happen now. Another one which I mentioned when I was doing the deck profile, it's a lot more vulnerable to hand traps now. If you get Drolled, Maxied, Fuelas, those 3 definitely hurt this deck because we do search. When you're playing the pure versions, you might only need to search like once. You know, like let's say you used Airlifter, you search emergency, they droll you, you can then, well, you don't even need a chain. You could just wait, then use emergency, go into turbulence, set 4, pass. You know, you could just do that. But in this build, if you had airlift and engraver, usually you would want to bait with the engraver because the airlifter is more important. So I'd engraver and then hope they have an ash instead. But if they have a draw, yeah, you're pretty pissed. But if you're scared of draw, you could just do that, you know, summon airlifter, boom. But if you have hydrant instead, you have to search a monster. So either way, like there's multiple searching with this build. It makes it harder to play through those powerful hand traps. Another con is the extra deck is so tight. I wish there was some certain cards I could play, like another fire, for example. If I go into Promethean, I've only got Phoenix or Fire Charmer. If I've used one or both, and Promethean's on the field, there's no way out. You know, I can't, there's nothing I could do. I have to hope that it gets destroyed. Or if I contribute it with deception or something. It's sometimes it can be an issue. So it is annoying. I wish there were some certain cards I could play, but unfortunately there really is no space. But honestly, I think those were the 3 cons, like the biggest cons, because, well, they were the biggest cons until Beatrice gets banned. But again, I'm speaking for how it was this month. Honestly, this deck is so powerful because I'm going to say the pros now. Pro 1, there's a lot of starters. Even though it's 60 cards and you don't know what you're going to start with, there are many starters. I do believe there's more than 10. So let me count quickly. Ash, 2 airlifters, 2 engravers, 3 Diablo Star, 1 rotor, 2 bonfire, that's 11, and 1 tid. That's 12 1-card starters. And yes, there are 1.5s like 1-for-1 tracked if you have another card in your hand, if you have or like emergency in any Rescue-ACE monster in your hand. You know, there are some 1.5s, but for pure 1-card starters, there's 12. And then yeah, if you do go into your 1.5s, like having Poplar, having a Hydrant, as I said, 1-for-1, depending on your hand as well, they can also be full combo. But I don't like to talk about that because you don't know what your other full cards remaining. 12 out of 60 still sounds like a small amount, but remember, you draw 5 cards at the beginning and all you need is 1. Or you might get lucky and get multiple extenders. Trust me, this deck is consistent. I rarely have a bad hand. But of course, look, every deck can have a bad hand, even the most consistent decks. Another pro is, as I mentioned, the reason why I'm playing Thrust is it can play against the combo decks with Dark Ruler, Raigeki, or it can play against stun with the Harpies. That's what was annoying me, the stun. Of course, you're not always guaranteed to get your Thrust off, but it's still amazing. And the fact that you can get Harpies. I won a match. Again, it'll be on the montage for next week. You'll see it against Runic Stun. Loved it. When you can use your Thrust and get the Harpies, it's beautiful. Third pro, it has so much engine that it can play through so much interruption. Like, it's crazy. Going first, if you start, for example, with like an engraver, a Diablo Star, let's just say airlifter. I'm telling you now, unless they have Fuelas or Maxi, those other 5 cards, 3 or 4 of them could be Ashes and Impums and stuff. And I'm pretty sure you can still make a full board. Or maybe not full board, but you can still make a very powerful board. And they will only have like, what, 2 cards remaining when it's their turn. It's so powerful. It's crazy. Like, it's actually the amount of interruptions you can play through this deck. I love it. It's so powerful, man. That's why, again, wait until the montage next week. You'll see the amount of times I went second and broke boards. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. And I guess this is another pro. It's not like, I'll give it like half a pro. And this will be the last one I mention. Because you're playing 60 cards, you're less likely to draw the card you don't want to start with. So that's like the 2 trap cards, Hollowed Azamina. You don't really want to start with Poplar. You know, there's a few cards here that if you're going first, you don't want in your starting hand. And so because you have 60 cards, you're less likely to start with them. Of course, again, they will happen, but at least it's less likely compared to when you did play 45 to 40 card decks. You would see those traps or those spells you didn't want to see more often. But yeah, those are the pros. And unfortunately, yeah, once Beatrice gets banned, those engravers are no longer 1-card starters. As I said, this is why this deck profile was a bit of a weird one, because a lot of this stuff is going to change once Beatrice is gone. Like I said in the beginning, like, I plan to make this video today, and I'm just here to explain how it was while Beatrice is still alive and how it was for this month, because honestly it was so fun. It really was fun. And I'm going to show you 2 combos now, one with engraver, one with Ash, just to show you how they're 1-card starters into your Rescue-ACE package. And then yeah, we're done. But it was fun while it lasted. All right, so here's the first one with engraver. So engraver, get your track. I'm gonna turn it off because that'll be annoying. Get your lorry. I will say, while I'm doing the combo, I don't want to misplay while talking. I'm bad at multitasking. The reason I'm not going to show other card combos, like if you want to know the Airlifter combo, or if you want to know the Diablo Star Azamina combos, in January, I did a full... Shit, nitty. See, that's what I mean, it's hard to multitask. In January, I did a pure Rescue-ACE deck profile, which showed the Rescue-ACE 1-card combos. In February, I did the Azamina Rescue-ACE, or Rescue-ACE Azamina, sorry, always Rescue-ACE at the beginning, which I showed the Azamina combos, or at least I showed an example combo because it can be crazy, let's just say. And so if you want to see those combos, check out the January one or check out the February deck profile. For March, I am showing the Fiendsmith combo for Rescue-ACE. We obviously used the engraver again. Man, I'm gonna miss this combo. The generic shit. Bring back Lacrima. Why? I don't I don't get why you can't just select both of them at the same time. It would just be so much easier or quicker. See, at this point with Beatrice, depending what was in your hand, you can choose to dump. Well, yeah, it really just depends what you had in your hand. But because we have not a single Rescue-ACE card, and again, we're going with 1 card, we have to dump, what am I this for? Airlifter. Might as well. Oh, bro, why am I wasting time? Why am I wasting time? Now, Airlifter comes out. Airlifter will get your emergency. And bing bang bosh. Full Rescue-ACE combo. Amazing. With just 1 engraver, you wouldn't even think this was a Fiendsmith deck. You wouldn't, because there is no Fiendsmith card on the field anymore. It's all Rescue-ACE. But that's what it did, man. It made this deck even more consistent, even at 60 cards. I loved it. Sad it has to go. Yeah, we could go for Preventer now. Sometimes I like to go for Impulse, so as soon as they use an effect, we can use Impulse and go into what we want. But at this point, you could go into Preventer because you're at the end of the combo anyway. Unless you did want to extend. Let's go into Phoenix. Waste the Phoenix now. Now, you've got 2 choices. You banish the Turbulence. Now, you could end like this if you wanted to. So you have the Book of Moon, your traps, and Promethean. Or, if you wanted to, go into your SP Little Knight. And then use Preventer to bring back Turbulence. So, when it comes to your opponent's turn, you could use Rescue to bring back Preventer for another interruption, or use Rescue for your opponent's graveyard. But look, this gives you SP Little Knight, gives you the Turbulence, so if they did get like destroy or just remove one of your cards on the field, Turbulence can pop a card. And yeah, you have the option with Rescue to bring back Preventer. And that was just with 1 engraver. So this is what I mean, this deck made this, well, not this deck, sorry, engraver made this deck so much stronger. But yeah, it needs Beatrice. I really don't know what's going to do without it. As I said, I do believe you could still play the Fiendsmith package, but you would only stick with the Fiendsmith cards. You wouldn't be able to do this. So you'd be able to get like Desiree, which does help. Don't get me wrong. If you have Airlifter or any way to get into your Rescue-ACE package and have the Fiendsmith cards, you could end with your trap cards, with your full Rescue-ACE board and the Desiree, which could omni negate, you know, if they had a board wipe like Lightning Storm or Harpies. That's what this deck missed. Like it missed that. That's why we played the Azamina, because that's an omni negate. So you could still end with all of that. Desiree, Sylvia, and Rescue-ACE. But if you did start with just Engraver and a bunch of hand traps or spells that, or yeah, whatever, that can't get into your Rescue-ACE cards, you're only going to end with Desiree. Well, you probably could add in Caesar now, or Caesar, since if you wanted to go into that rank 6. But yeah, it can no longer go from Fiendsmith into this. So it really is up to you. But me personally, I only would play an engine that can get me into my main engine. I did it once with battling boxes, Kashtira, but that's because battling boxes suck, sadly, and I love the deck. So they needed help. Here is combo number 2 with Ash, where we have the bonfire. So we'll search the Ash, and let's show you the combo with Ash now, the 1 card. See, before in the Rescue-ACE or Pure Build or Rescue-ACE Azamina, you would need to play Goblin, I believe, Nightmare Goblin, to get the full combo. But with Fiendsmith, you don't need it at all. But yeah, with now, I guess now, yeah, with the Beatrice gone, if you did want to still keep Ash and have the 1 card combo, yeah, you would have to then make room for Nightmare Phoenix. Not Nightmare Phoenix, sorry, Nightmare Goblin. All right, so now we go into Closed Heaven. Or Moon. I'm just saying Moon. Why am I calling Closed Heaven? And Popular comes out, and yeah, that's what you use OSS on. This is why I mentioned playing 2. I mean, look, you can special summon from your hand, but you would still rather from the deck thin it out. Now, it doesn't matter at this point. It will be different, of course, once Beatrice is banned, because you can't dump Beatrice, but usually you could go into Preventer or Turbulence. Actually, I don't think, no, you could still go into Turbulence, but actually, do you know what? There's multiple routes, because you could bring out Turbulence with Beatrice, send Airlifter, search with Airlifter, blah, blah, blah. Then you can banish with Turbulence. So you could do that. You could add to your hand Preventer, then send Beatrice Turbulence. You know, there's actually quite a few routes now that I think about it. I guess it really just depends what's in your hand. But in this case, I do think adding Turbulence is better, because then we can just send Airlifter. Yeah, I think this is actually a better choice. Now I'm thinking about it, I feel like Preventer might have been the better option. I do think it is now, because how are we going to get our Banish back? Let's find out. Oh, you know what? I think it's the exact same end board. Maybe even better? No, it won't be better. Very similar, very similar. Yeah, now I would actually search Impulse. Since we already have a Preventer in the graveyard, we could always use Rescue on that in case we don't want to special summon from our opponent's graveyard. So I would get Impulse, because if they did have an effect on the field, you can use Impulse to Preventer, and then you can save your Rescue for your opponent's graveyard, and I do love that. And then yeah, you can either leave it like this, or again, you could go into SP, which is probably the better choice, because at least that's a guaranteed interruption as soon as they use an effect, especially a monster one. And boom, there you go. With one Ash, you can get this full Rescue-ACE board, and we don't know what the other 4 cards would be. Imagine they are Ash and whatever hand traps or Maxi, whatever, you know. Or if, yeah, like as we can see now, the Diablo Star, I could easily go into the Azamina and get an Omni Negate. With the Fiendsmith and Beatrice, it made this deck be able to always get into the full Rescue-ACE board. Without Beatrice, as I mentioned in the previous combo, you can still do crazy shit. It just won't guarantee the full Rescue-ACE board anymore. So there you have it, the 60 card deck Rescue-ACE featuring Fiendsmith and Azamina. It was a pleasure playing this deck. It was fun, extremely fun. I'm telling you now, I thought playing with Rescue-ACE Azamina was fun, and it really is. But this just adds the craziness, because there's just so many more routes you can go into. It's fun. I just love breaking boards individually. It will be sad. To be honest, my intentions for playing this deck was purely because I wanted Dominus Impulse to join last month in the pack, and it didn't. So I thought, let's try and make a fun Rescue-ACE deck while we wait. And I just thought, let's make a 60 deck card, add in Fiendsmith and then other cards like Thrust for stun. And so I came up with this. I did get some advice from Diamond and some other players, but yeah, I really did enjoy playing this deck. And if anyone has these cards already, don't use your UR for the remaining cards. If you already have these cards, I would highly recommend playing it, even if it's for what, like 10 more days, because you will see what I mean when I say it's fun. It's not going to be completely dead. As I said, with Beatrice gone, it just stops the Fiendsmith way of going into your Rescue-ACE package, but you can still end with the Omni Negate and it can still bait out like hand traps, but it will lower the consistency. Plus, as I said, Impulse is coming out the day this video comes out. I would much rather play Impulse over Fiendsmith. That's my opinion. We don't need to play the light monsters. It helps this deck so much, because if you are going against Tempai and they do have a board breaker like Lightning Storm or Harpies and they get rid of your back row, it's cool, because if they try to use Sangen, Impulse, boom, you probably will win. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. If you did, I would appreciate it if you left a thumbs up. And as mentioned in the beginning, if you aren't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. With the deck profile complete, all I can do is salute Beatrice and say, you was amazing. Farewell. Slouser is out.